So what's good, YouTube? Welcome back to a brand new video. I hope you guys are doing great today. In today's video, I wanted to touch on a subject that hasn't really been talked about too much lately, and that is the Sony color science. The Sony color science is something that everybody always talked about. They trashed for a long time. I still don't like it, and that's because I'm using an older generation Sony camera. If you are somebody who picked up an a7 III or the a6400 or the a6600, those cameras have updated color science, and those are going to do much better than the older generation Sony cameras, and they have pretty good colors straight out of the box, and with some minor tweaks in the white balance and some small little tweaks, very minor tweaks, you can pretty much get really close to Canon, where it's going to be very hard for a normal naked eye to really notice, which is amazing. It's amazing that Sony has already improved it to the point where you can pretty much get Canon colors from your Sony cameras, which is amazing. But today I wanted to make kind of like an updated video for those of us who are still using or might have just purchased an older generation Sony camera that came out before 2018 with their new updated color science. Like, for example, if you're shooting on the a6300 like me, the a6500, the a7S II, and the a7R2, or anything older than that, they're using their older color science, their older colors, and it's just absolutely terrible. It has a really nasty green tinge in the skin tones. The yellows are nasty. It's a really cold image, not like the really warm magenta look that you get on the Canons, which is a lot more flattering to skin. Just looks better when you're shooting outdoors and you're shooting in natural lighting. The Canon colors, because they favor the warm and the magenta side, it just looks so much more cinematic and vibrant when you're shooting outdoors. And Sony's just look very washed out and nasty, especially on the older models. Very washed out, green tingy, colder. It doesn't look good whatsoever, and there are ways around it. There are ways of improving it in camera. You don't have to download or buy anything particularly. There is a thing that you can purchase, the eoshd Pro. I think that's what they called it. Not exactly sure. I'm gonna leave a link down below. You can purchase it for 20 USD. It is a great thing. A lot of people really enjoyed it, but the thing is, I actually found a couple of forums that give it to you for free, so I'm not gonna be leaving any links to the free versions. You'll have to do that yourself on your own terms and whatever you feel happy with doing. For me personally, over the last year of using this camera, I have sort of developed my own look, and for me, it's very close to what the EOS HD Pro gives you. It's a very similar profile, but of course, for you, depending on what you do, you might maybe favor something else. You might change a little bit of a setting. So don't copy my settings 100% and then start using that and only use that. Copy it over, play around with it, see what you like. Maybe there's something you don't like about it. Maybe you don't want blues in your image at all. Put the blues down. Maybe you don't want as much magentas. You can bring that down. Play around with these settings and kind of figure out which one works best for you. My goal today is to kind of show you the basic steps and the basic tools and things that you can do to get those Canon-like colors in your camera, and from there on, you can play around with it, you can tweak it, you can do whatever you want, you can use them on anything. I'm just gonna give you the basic start, the one that just looks good straight out of the camera, and then from there you can experiment and try things on your own. So before we actually dive into the settings and how to actually set up the colors, I wanted to quickly mention a thing that has just been blowing up on social media, and that is an amazing organization called teamtrees.org is actually trying to plant 20 million trees before the year 2020, and they want the help of us YouTubers with our social media presence and our power to tell every single person that we possibly can of this organization and what we're actually trying to do. They're trying to plant 20 million trees before the year 2020. They're already at 1.7 million trees planted, which is just amazing. So if my community could even donate $20 in total, that's 20 potential trees that we can plant even as a small community, which is going to make a massive difference. So if you guys can donate even at least $1, that will be incredible. The links are going to be down below for you guys to check them out, read about it, learn more about it, check out some other YouTubers that might have potentially talked about it, and also a chance to actually donate. So links are going to be down below. Alright, so let's dive into the actual settings portion of the video and how to actually set up the Canon colors on the Sony camera. So let's actually head to the menu system and let's go to picture profile settings and choose any of these choices. Really doesn't matter. I'm just going to do the first one because this is the one that I use on a daily basis. And pretty much what I'm going to be doing next is I'm going to show you guys all of these settings step by step, one by one, and I'll bring you guys through all of these settings. So let's start off with the first one, the black gamma. This one, I would recommend to stop that down to -15. So if you guys want to have kind of like a video file that looks really, really nice straight out of the camera, then I would recommend to bring the black levels down. If you want a bit more room to grade the shadows and the blacks, obviously you could bring that up, but I'm going to leave it at -15. You can choose yourself, but the -15 works really nicely and it looks great out of the camera. The next mode is the gamma. The gamma, I would recommend to stick to Cine 4 because it's pretty much the best one that looks the closest to Canon's straight out of camera look. Obviously, you could choose any of these. It doesn't matter what profile you're shooting on. It's not really going to depend on how the outcome or the colors are going to look. This is just generally the profile that I like to use for this. I used to use Cine 2. That works great. Cine 4 is really, really nice. You can shoot S-Log 2, S-Log 3. Really depends what you want to do. It's up to you. I'm just going to keep it at Cine 4 for now, and I'd recommend for you guys to do that too, especially if you've never really used a Sony camera before, or if you've never used this profile before and you're new to this, or you don't really want to do too much color grading, then Cine 4 is by far the best profile that still gives you enough room in post-production to edit, but it just looks great straight out of camera. So now let's move on to black gamma. The range is going to be on wide and the level is going to be at -7. It depends what you want to do. For example, if you want really nice crushed blacks straight out of camera, -7 is the best one to go for. If you want a bit more room with your blacks, obviously you can bring it up or you can bring it down. You can keep it at 0. Play around with it. I like it at -7. I might change it myself later down the road, but for now, I'm happy with -7. The knee, I would just keep it on auto. Keep that on auto mode. The color mode is pretty important. I'd recommend jumping between Pro and Cinema. They're very, very similar. Stick to Pro. It's the easiest one to use. Kind of like using a standard profile. It looks great, and I just recommend to stick with Pro. It's the best one, but Cinema also looks great, and sgamut.cine is probably the biggest color space that I'd recommend to go for. Sgamut or sgamut 3 is too much. It's too difficult. Only try it if you're somebody who has already a lot of experience like me using this camera, or if you're just somebody who just wants to experiment, try it out, but I would recommend to stick to Pro. It's the best one. And the next mode is going to be saturation. Keep that at +5. The color phase at +2. And now we're going to be moving on to, I think, the biggest, literally the biggest change that kind of turns it into a Canon-like look, essentially, if you want to call it. Gives you the better color science. This is where you're going to be controlling your colors. So go to color depth, and this is what the adjustments actually look like. These are the adjustments you want to make if you want to get the Canon colors, essentially. So you want your reds to be bumped up to +5. You want your greens to be bumped up to +5 as well. You want your blues to be bumped up to +5. You want your, I think that's cyan, to -3. And you want your magentas to -3, and you want your yellows to -5. The yellows are really important to have at -5 because the yellows are a massive issue. This is what's causing a lot of the problems. Yellows is just a color that you don't really need in your videos. I usually just completely delete yellows out unless I'm obviously shooting something with a yellow piece of clothing, or I'm shooting something that has yellows in it and it's important to have it. I'll keep it, but if there's nothing yellow in the shot, it kind of just F's up my skin tone sometimes a little bit, especially with the Sony colors and everything. I would recommend to just eliminate yellows. It just makes a much better experience. So put the yellows to -5. Now your camera should already be dramatically better. The colors have dramatically already improved to what they looked like before. Now it's time to go to detail. The detail level, bring it to -7 because the sharpening on Sony is a little bit better than Canon's internal sharpening. Unless you just want to quickly make a video and give it to your client. Obviously, maybe doing a little bit of an internal sharpening might be great, but I would highly recommend to bring it to -7. It just looks much better. And the adjustment, keep all of that on auto the way it was at the beginning. And that is pretty much it. So that is the actual settings. That is all the settings you need to know. Simple as that. The main change that you want to actually do is probably going to be the saturation, color phase, and the color depth are the 3 settings you want to change for sure and choose the right one. The color mode, you can play around with it. Doesn't have to be Pro to get the Canon colors. I would highly recommend to use Pro because it's going to be the easiest one to use. But the saturation, color phase, and color depth are the 3 pretty much settings you need to change if you want to get the Canon colors. So that is how you get the Canon colors in your Sony camera. Very, very simple, very, very easy. And now this camera is ready to go. So that is going to be it for today's video. I hope you guys actually enjoyed it. If you guys did, make sure to slap the like button, subscribe if you guys are new here. We post videos like this and others every single week. And also don't forget to check me out on Instagram. I post photos and videos and behind the scenes content on there as well. Tons and tons of content there as well. Also, don't forget to check out my preset store down in the description below. If you guys are interested in speeding up your workflow, improving your photography and videography, check out my preset and Luts store down below. We have some incredible incredibly good prices. You guys can purchase some presets, some LUTs, even get a free LUT pack for you guys to try out, test out, and see kind of what my workflow and what my colors look like. And if you like it, then obviously you can go back to the store and potentially purchase some other items. So that is it for me. Go out, shoot some photos, shoot some videos, enjoy the process, and I will see you guys next time. Take care and peace out.